Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt, and I am an agency owner, social media strategist, and general early adopter of all the things. So today, I wanted to kind of do a little story time, because when this episode drops, a very important project that I have been honored to be a part of is dropping, and I will be a published author. I am so excited. This has been a long time dream of mine, and I'm going to tell you a little story time about how much I've always loved to write. And in college, I had a professor, probably of like my intro to college writing course, who basically told me that my writing was trash and I needed to relearn everything about grammar. And my feelings were hurt as an 18-year-old. And I remember getting angry because he was also like an adjunct professor. So he was like a professor at BC and at Northeastern, and he was just not very nice. And I've learned from myself that words of affirmation mean a lot to me. So when you criticize me or, just outwardly tell me like you're wrong, I take it hyper personally. I'm not gonna lie. But when I was growing up, we had this old Packard Bell computer, and I literally just used to like start up new documents, and I would just write. And I would write and I would write and I would write. And God, it was Windows 3.1, so we've come a long way, baby. But one of my best friends, her and I would also just like write these fictional stories about people that we knew. And like, I mean, they were probably complete garbage because we were like fifth or sixth grade at the time, maybe seventh grade. But I just loved writing. Like, I loved losing myself in storytelling. And that's also why I'm such a reader. But anyhow, so I am a part of this group called The Collective, and members of the collective had the opportunity to be a part of We Lead. And what is We Lead, you ask? Well, We Lead is a collection of stories about building connection and community and collaboration for women in business. This is the second volume. The first volume is already out, linked in the show notes, and I will link to volume 2 also in the show notes once it's live. But the first volume, when I read it, like, these are people that I know, that I'm friends with, and they were really powerful stories, and they're super relatable. So I was super excited when the opportunity came up to be a part of this collaboration. So now, as of like the 19th or 20th, like, I'm going to be a published author. Huzzah! So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about my story. And, there's always already going to be a published podcast that goes out with our publisher, Braveheart Productions. I will link to them in the show notes because Laura is just absolutely incredible. She publishes lots of books and lots of collaborative books, and they are just all just magic. Chef's kiss. So my story, I kind of talk about how I got into marketing and content creating. And it goes way back, man. Like, I'm not going to share everything because I want you to read the book. I want you to read my story. But I started blogging on LiveJournal way back in February of 2001 as a lowly high school senior. We had dial-up at my mom's house when I was growing up. It was pretty terrible. Like, we had dial-up through most of me being in college. Like, that noise, the ting, ting, brrr. Yeah, that noise was a noise that literally will haunt me because, when I would come home from college, I would literally like, I'd go out, I see my friends, I see family, and then I'd come home and I just want to like reconnect with the people. I'd want to get on my blog and like write about all the things. I guess you could call what I was doing back in the day, like now they would call it lifestyle blogging. Like, I definitely documented so much of my life. And, if I ever run for office someone's gonna have to make sure that that Schmidt is all nuked. Although I've always held to the rule, and I remember my college ex-boyfriend getting really frustrated with me because I had this line that like I wouldn't talk about really like you don't talk about sexual relations and you don't talk about money, and I didn't talk about really family, at least not publicly. Like with LiveJournal, you could have it like locked or private or, friends only, whatever. So I had these hard lines about what I would and would not talk about publicly. And sometimes he felt that I took it too far, but whatever. I'm pretty sure I deleted all of it. I did recently log back into LiveJournal, which is not like, I don't know, it's not a site that I would probably use. I think it's owned by like some Russian, but I like to make sure that, all my, 20 something nightmares are gone forever. So, anyhow, so I started blogging. I was an early adopter on social media. Facebook came out in 2004. I'm pretty sure I was among the first of my friends because I thought this was some cool shit. I don't know. I've always been fascinated by like social networks, even dating back to the days of Friendster. And maybe it's just because I craved connection. I'm going to get a little personal here. I did not have that many friends. Going to three different high schools in 4 years was not beneficial for my social life. So I craved that connection. And especially in 2001, when I got on LiveJournal, like I kind of found that connection. And I met friends across the world. And that's one thing that I've always loved about social media is that it allows us to build these connections. In business, it allows you to connect with the people that are engaging with you, your customers. It allows you to just connect with them on such a, I don't want to say a deeper level, but it just allows that level of connection that we often don't have or we seek out and can't find. So for me, it was very much like a opportunity to build connections with people when I felt that I otherwise didn't have them. There's me being a little personal. That might be a little deep for some of y'all. Um, so eventually, my love of social media led to various career opportunities. When we moved to Annapolis, I worked for various agencies and learned everything that I know about not just social media marketing, but overall content marketing and inbound marketing. And the the first agency that I worked for was fantastic in the sense that it was sink or swim. Like I had to I didn't know what I didn't know, but I had to figure it out. We were a small team and there was I think three of us and then my two bosses on the team, and they were truly mentors to me and they challenged me in ways that I needed that career growth. And it was really, really a fun place to work at the time. The next agency that I worked for really helped me hone in on my account management. I was more of an account manager and project manager than I was the actual doer or strategist. So I very much learned that aspect, which I think every good leader should kind of have a good understanding of. And I've told clients about how one of the worst client experiences that I've ever had was for this second agency that I worked for. And it wasn't my fault. One of my colleagues left and I took over his account, and there was not a great handoff. So I had a client tell me that the website that the team had designed literally made him vomit in his mouth. And there is no better way to toughen up your skin than to hear that kind of feedback and to feel like it was your fault. There were lots of factors at play. My boss at the time was fantastic at coaching me through it. And, we took responsible for what we were responsible for, but also they didn't have the key stakeholders a part of the whole process along the way. So the person who was approving it was not the person who should have ultimately been approving the designs, the mock-ups, all that stuff. Neither here nor there, but huge learning lesson. So after that, I went in-house and I had various in-house experiences, some of them better than others. I feel like sometimes I am the stereotypical elder millennial who has gone chasing higher salaries, and sometimes that has not always been the best career choice. Just saying. But in 2018, I had the opportunity to work for a fantastic company, and I worked from home right up until March 2020 when I was laid off as a marketing director. And, again, lots of learning lessons. And some of the stuff that, my boss was a business consultant for a private practice physical therapist. And there were lots of things that he coached his small business owners that were his clients that I learned from him that I still hold to this day, especially because now I am a small business owner. So you always learn something, does that make sense? Like, in life and in your career, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a marketer listening to me and trying to learn something, there are lessons to be learned in every opportunity. So, the title of my chapter is that you don't need 10,000 followers for online success. Really, it should be like business success. You do not need 10,000, 100,000. You just don't need that. And my chapter is opened up with a quote that I found from someone at HubSpot. Being famous on Instagram is basically the same thing as being rich on Monopoly. It means absolute nothing. It means nothing. Like, yeah. So then my chapter kind of talks about what I just talked about, how I kind of got into content marketing, blah, blah, blah. All the opportunities that blogging afforded me over the years, which some of them were pretty cool. Like, I got to go to Blog Her in Chicago. And I got to go to blog her again in New York City. And I was a like Gap influencer at the time. And fun fact, like they outfitted me for blog her in New York City in 2010. So that was pretty cool. I will say that was really cool. And I'm pretty sure it was only like a year or two ago that I finally got rid of that amazing black blazer that I wore for everything. Like, if you see a professional-ish picture of me from sometime in the mid 2010s, chances are that is the same blazer that the Gap gifted me as a blogger. So I kind of talk about how, as a content creator, I had a job where literally I was working I've had a couple of jobs where I've worked 60-hour work weeks, and those type of jobs are not conducive to creating content for an online presence. And I talk about how my presence ebbed and flowed and all that kind of fun stuff. And at various points, I thought about becoming a full-time content creator, and I still kind of wonder, like, could I add some level of my own content creation? And I follow lots of like marketing influencers. I'm thinking like Latasha James, I'm thinking Alma Bradford, some of the ones that have definitely influenced me. And I really, really do aspire to like have that extra monetary opportunity. That's probably the wrong wording, and it's whatever. That additional income source, that's what I wanted to say. But, there have been people around my life who have definitely like shot down those kind of aspirations. So maybe 2025 is the year that I finally like really dive into that. And then I talk about, the leap to freelance. And I'm pretty sure that the day that I was laid off was either right before or right after my son's birthday. And I marked it as like March 23rd, 2020. I don't know if that's actually the day. I think it was a few days before then. My boss, who I still absolutely adore her, sent me a Google chat message and she asked if I had a minute, and she cut to the chase pretty quickly. I'm actually going to read the chapter. We ran some numbers, and you know how tough things have been with everything shutting down and the future being so uncertain. And I'm really sorry, but we have to let you go. You'll get the full unemployment and we'll pay out any remaining PTO. I was speechless. She said some other very nice things that went in one ear and out the other. Before we were off our call, access to my email was revoked. Cold, I remember thinking, but not surprising. Sidebar. They were very like, this is business, it's not personal. My boss, the founder of the company, later sent me a very touching email that he was very proud of all the work that we had done. And, he was really sorry that we hadn't connected, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. And I kind of take that when clients, past few months have been really rough for client retention for me. I'm not going to lie. And I think some of that comes down to the economy, but I always remind myself like it's business, it's not personal. And it's a testament to the relationships that I do have with my clients, because I pride myself on the relationships that I build with them. So reminding myself like it's business, it's not personal, that has helped me. So back to the chapter. Sitting on our stairs, out of the way of my son, I cried, and my husband hugged me. This will be fine. This is not the end of the world. You were trying to leave, so this is not a bad thing, he said, holding me by the shoulders. The CARES Act is going to help us, so we will be fine. He wasn't wrong. He sprang into action, putting our mortgage on forbearance, thank you, pandemic, and researching how to apply for unemployment. I spent the next few weeks doing science projects with my son, taking him for long daily walks, and figuring out what it would look like to work for myself. What will I do? Could I do passive income? In reality, it ended up better than I could have imagined. A month later, I incorporated an LLC, set up a website, and launched Heidi Schmidt Creative on April 22nd, 2020. I was officially a business owner. A month after that, I signed my first project client from a listing on Indeed.com. A couple weeks after that, in mid-June 2020, I signed my first social media management client after I threw up a post on LinkedIn that was along the lines of, "Hey friends, I'm doing the dang thing," and started freelancing. If anyone's looking for help with social media or knows someone who is, I'd love to chat. To be honest, it wasn't even close to a professional pitch. I'm sure there's a case study out there as to how to pitch yourself on LinkedIn, and well, that wouldn't be it. Quite the opposite, in fact. But it landed me my first ongoing client, whom I worked with until April 2024 through 2 mergers and 1 rebrand. So it all worked out. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because this is really like kind of some of the meat of it. It was in year 3 that I accomplished my 6-figure goal. I let go of that hourly paying client, paying me $25 to do hashtag all of the things, and brought on 2 higher paying retainer clients within a month of giving notice. I learned just because clients are good people does not always make them a good fit. Making tough decisions to let go of clients who were the wrong fit, i.e., lower paying, wrong service, helped make room for clients who paid more and were the right fit. My Instagram following didn't hit 1,000 followers until year 4. I often felt that the number of followers indicates how successful a social media manager or agency is. You can spew out Instagram hacks, but are the people engaging with that content your ideal audience? Followers don't equal sales, and likes don't equal leads. Most of my clients have been referrals, people who found me through a localish Facebook group. I built a reputation as a social media expert, helping these other women in business grow their followings and show up consistently when it felt overwhelming. I didn't need 1,000 followers to prove I was an expert, though I certainly felt inadequate much of the time. Instead, I let my work speak for itself and I prioritized my clients' work over my own. So while other social media managers racked up tens of thousands of followers and posted multiple times a day with those pesky Instagram hacks, I went weeks without posting anything at various points. I know. Practice what you preach. When I did, in year 4, that's when the magic started to happen. I learned a long time ago that comparing my following to others isn't only unproductive, it's a trap that holds you down and stunts growth. Once I started consistently showing up for myself, I started to grow. Ultimately, clients come and go. I learned that I needed to continue to build an audience, and that meant consistency. Consistency, after all, breeds trust. I've learned this, though, about building an authentic following. You don't need millions of followers to be successful in business. Building an engaged community of people who trust and respect you is more valuable than having tens of thousands of followers who may never buy from you. And then I talked about how I show up consistently without the overwhelm. So that is my chapter in the book. I am so excited to be a part of this. And I really hope that, if you are someone in business who is kind of struggling with like those vanity metrics, we all have imposter syndrome at one point or another. But I really hope that you read this book and find something in it that speaks to you and feel like there's a voice out there that just kind of gets it. They hit your pain point. And I will say, if you ever feel inadequate on social media, stop following your competition or snooze them. Sometimes it's good to follow our competition to kind of understand, like, hey, what are the industry trends? What are the content gaps? All of that kind of fun stuff. Stop following the people who are sharing all the Instagram hacks. And you know why I say that? I thought of this recently. There's tons of great Instagram people who share all of the Instagram hacks, but stop following them. Because the hacks don't matter unless you're doing your own Instagram. And if you're someone who aspires to outsource your social media management because it's overwhelming and you just don't want to do it, just stop following those people. I recently did that. And because also I realized I was like, I don't, the people who are learning all of the Instagram hacks are not my people. My people are the people who want to just kind of dust it off. Like, I don't want to manage my own social media. I want someone who I trust to take it over for me. I'm that person. And my team, I've built an amazing team who are amazing content creators, and I'm so grateful for them. So be mindful about who you're listening to online and how it makes you feel. You are not inadequate, and your business is not a failure if you don't have 10,000 followers. If you don't even have 1,000 followers, maybe you just hit 100. Instagram growth is so slow these days, and honestly, like we're all just doing the best that we can. So that is all that I have for today. Again, I'm going to link the Amazon link to We Lead 2 and We Lead 1. I hope you will read them. If you do read them and you love it, please leave a review. Reviews are what help authors get found. So we want to, spread the word about We Lead and the magical stories that are in it. And if you are so inclined, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Heidi Schmidt Creative. Join my email list because if you leave a review and you email me a screenshot of it, I may be doing a little giveaway of some hard copies. So stay tuned for that. I will be announcing it in my email list probably later this week. And in the meantime, go forth, create amazing, authentic content that speaks to your audience, that tells your story, that helps you show up authentically in a way that doesn't feel icky, and content that stops the scroll. And I promise authentic content will always stop that scroll. So again, tune in next week for more.